Okay. Okay. So list. So what is list? That we have already covered in the last class, and the features. Some of the features we already covered. That is, duplicates objects are allowed, and insertion order is preserved. Right. So that we have already seen in the last class. And null is allowed. We'll see this one also. So collection, where is the collection? Okay, here. Now you can see here we have added the duplicates objects, that is Dharam string, second Dharam string, and an XYZ PQR 1 to 3. So that means you are adding a string as well as a integer values also. That means ArrayList support the heterogeneous data also. So this is covered, right? This one is covered. This is covered. Duplicates objects allowed. Insertion order is preserved. This is also covered. Okay. Right now null is allowed. How we can check null? So let's say l dot add. L dot add. You can allow the you can add the null keyword also. Okay. So here we can see we can add the null also in the array list. Okay. Now run this program and see the output. Now here you can see in the console, first output Dharam, second Dharam, XYZ, PQR 1 2 3, and last is null. So the order in which you are adding the object into the array list, in the same way it will be displayed in the console, right? Whenever you try to print print the list object through the system.out.println. Okay.
Dharmendra, can you access the blank object also?
Blank l dot add
Huh?
like this. Hmm?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, because the blank is also a string, right? Because you are adding the. This is not a. It's a blank string. You can say it's a blank string. Okay, right?
Yeah.
It's a string. It's an object actually, but it's a blank. Okay, that you also can do. After it, I can also add the null. Okay, let me add null. Then you can see. Now run it. Okay, here you can see the blank value, right? Null,
Yes. Yes.
blank, and then here you can see the blank. Okay, so blank string. Okay, null is allowed. That's it. Done. Now next point is underlying data structure of list is resizable and resizable. See in the list, just note down the point. In the list, objects are stored based in the consecutive manner. Object are stored in the consecutive manner. Okay. So let me open this. Just assume this is your array list. This is your array list. Okay. So here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So by default, the size of your default capacity is 10 to the array list. Okay. So if anyone asks you in the interview what is the capacity of ArrayList default capacity, so it's a 10. So that means you can store only the 10 objects here. Okay, so you can store only the 10 objects. So internally the size of this ArrayList is 10. Okay, so it will store how many elements? Only 10 elements or 10 objects get stored in the this ArrayList object. Okay, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Okay, now we are adding one more. Let's say we'll add some of the objects also, and this is 10 in the string format. Okay, this is clear. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. I'll comment these two lines. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So we have stored the 10 objects into the list. Now print it. Here you can see the output.
Number where we
Here
have
you can
declared
see
10 array,
what?
where we have to declare the 10 array size is 10. We have to declare
Wait,
anything.
wait, wait, wait. Topic is not completed. It's going on. Okay, just focus here. So dharam xyz pqr 1 2 3 null blank null 10 and period. Store the 10 objects. Okay, now I'll add 11 and 12 object. Just execute, because the thing will happen internally. It is not required, since you are the programmer, and since you are a programmer and working on this ArrayList objects, it doesn't require, it doesn't require to you to worry about this, the location allocation of the objects into the ArrayList or the capacity of the ArrayList. It will happen internally. It will happen internally automatically. Will be managed by the ArrayList. So I'll tell you the internal structure, how the capacity will be maintained. Okay, just wait. Okay, now you can see the 11th and 12th object is happily added into the ArrayList object. Okay, now the question is that why this concept is capacity. Okay, because if we add initially we are saying that we have the size, we have the default capacity is 10 of the cap and into the ArrayList. We can store only the 10 element, and we are not defining any capacity here. So, or here we are adding the 12 objects, and happily 12 objects are printing. So why capacity term is coming? So actually capacity is managed internally by the ArrayList. Since you are the programmer, it isn't required to worry about this internal architecture, internal structure of the ArrayList, how it store the object. Okay, but you should have the basic idea, because someone can ask the question in the interview. That's why I'm telling to you. Okay, so here till here. Now what I'll do in starting, I'll take the capacity. Okay, so we have the formula L dot capacity. Okay, so we do not have the size here. Okay, I'll tell you, we do not have the size here. We do not have the method to find out the capacity in the ArrayList. We have the method to find out the capacity in the vector. But how internally happen actually? I'll tell you. See, uh, so we have the 10 objects here. So default capacity of the ArrayList is the 10. I'll show you this real-time example in the vector. Okay, and I'll tell you why we do not have the capacity method in the ArrayList. I'll tell you the reason also. Okay, so just focus here. So we have the default capacity is 10 in the ArrayList. So we can store only the 10 elements. So what will happen? What will happen if we add the 11th element? What will happen if we add the 11th elements? Right? So here we can add, let's say this is A, this is B. Sorry, you cannot add like this. E here, and now you're adding C. Here D, E. Okay, like this you are adding all the objects A, B, C, D, E, F till you occupy the 10 position into the array list. So default capacity is 10. So whenever you add a 11th element into the array list object, so what will happen? So what will happen? It will create a new array list object with a size of, formula is current capacity into 3 by 2. So this is your formula. So just focus again. Okay. So default capacity of the array list object is a 10. Default capacity is 10. So that means you can store the 10 elements or 10 objects into the array list object. And what will happen? We are saying that array list is the resizable. List is the resizable. That means it's a dynamic size, right? Dynamic. So whenever we add the 11 element into the array list object, then what will happen internally? It doesn't require to worry about what happened internally, because but you should have some idea, right? So what will happen? Whenever you add 11th element into the array list object, then what will happen? A new array list object will be created. Then a new a big array list object is created. Okay, new big array list object is created internally. Okay, a new big array list object is created, and all the objects will be copied from the old array list object to the new array list object, like this. Okay, right? Again, default capacity of the array list object is 10. Whenever we add a 11th element into the array list object, then what will happen? Internally, a new array list object is created with a form based on the formula new capacity equal to current capacity into 3 by 2 plus 1. With this formula, a new array list object is created, and all the objects will be copied from the old array list object to the new array list object. This is happen internally automatically. It doesn't require the programmer to worry about this. Okay, so now if I ask the size of this old array list object, so this is your old array list, and this is your new array list, new array list object. Okay, again one more time, default capacity is 10 for the array list object. That means you can add only the 10 element. That means you can add only the 10 elements or 10 objects into the ArrayList object. Since ArrayList is resizable, regrowable in nature, that means if you can add a multiple elements, multiple objects into it, there is no problem. There is no concept of the fixed size. It's a dynamic actually. So whenever you add a 11 element, then automatically internally a new ArrayList object, a big ArrayList object, a new ArrayList object is created based on the formula new capacity equal to current capacity into 3 by 2 plus 1, and all the objects A, B, C, D, E, all the objects from the old ArrayList object to the copied and pasted to the new ArrayList object. Okay. Now if I ask you what is the size of this new ArrayList object, you need to calculate with this formula. So current capacity, what is the current capacity? 10. 10 into 3 by 2 plus 1. 10 into 3. 10 into 3, 30. Right? 30 divided by 2, 15, 16. So size is, now the size is 16. 16 capacity. Right? 16 is the capacity. So for old one is a 10. Now again, one more time. If size is 16, that means we can store only the 16 element. Now if we add a 17 element, 17 objects into 8, then what will happen? Again a new ArrayList object is created based on the this formula. Okay, so 16 is a capacity for this ArrayList object, right? So we can add only the 16 element or 16 objects into the this new ArrayList object. Now if we add a 17th object, 17th element, so then what will happen? Again this process will be repeated. Again this process will be repeated. That means a new ArrayList object is created with a formula. Based on this formula, current capacity into 3 by 2 plus 1, right? So what will be the size of that again? So current capacity will become 16 into 3 by 2 plus 1, same formula. Now any question? Okay, this is happen internally. Okay, and it doesn't require the programmer to worry about this, but you should have the basic idea because someone can ask in the interview. Okay, right? So I'll show you this by with the help of the method which we have in the vector class. Okay, and then I'll tell you why we do not have the method to get the capacity into the in the ArrayList object. Okay, now this is done. Okay, underlying objects data structure list. Okay, and I told you here the object are stored based on the index in the array list. In the list actually, in the array list, object are stored based on the index, right? So A is stored in the 0 index. This is 0 index. This is first index, second, third, fourth, and so on, right?
Yes.
Okay, so array list stored based on the index. Now this is also covered. Okay. Now one more thing before going into the methods, we'll see the constructor of ArrayList. Okay. So we are going to cover each and everything constructor of ArrayList. So constructor, next topic is constructor. How many constructor we have in the array list? So now you can see here we have one constructor, this one zero argument constructor. Okay, so we have the zero argument constructor. We have zero argument constructor first. Second is we can also have, let me copy this first, types of constructor. So this is first constructor. Okay, this document I'll share with you. Okay, next constructor is collection. Not collection, let's say I'll tell you. Let me copy this. Okay, second constructor is this. Third constructor is capacity. Int capacity. So we have three constructor. We have the capacity constructor also. Let's say if I, okay, let me discuss about this third type of constructor. So one is clear. We already discussed about this zero argument constructor. Okay, zero argument constructor. I told you that guys, in the Java itself, whenever I explaining you the super and the parent-child relationship, I told you that every class should have the some zero argument constructor. That's why
Yes.
Java is also following the same. Java also has the same means it look like a zero argument constructor in every classes. Okay, so in Java also we have zero argument constructor in every classes. Okay, now you can relate your the topic which I covered in the last classes. Okay, let me start the capacity concept, guys. So here we are using the ArrayList L equal to new ArrayList. We are providing the capacity 30. Okay, that means if you are providing the 30 capacity here, or let's say if I say the 50 capacity. Okay, see what will happen actually. Just think on that. Okay, so let's say just focus. What is the advantage and what is the disadvantage by doing this? Okay, so let's suppose you have the 10 array list. So default size is
10.
if you write the array list, if you write the array list L equal to new array list means zero argument constructor. If we are using the zero argument constructor of the array list, that means the default size is 10. Default size is 10. Sorry, default size not default capacity is 10. And whenever you add a 11th object into the array list object, then a new big array list object is created based on this formula, and all objects will be copied from the all objects one by one copied from the old array list object into the new array list object, and old this old array list object will be destroyed. Okay, so this process actually takes a time internally, so it's reduce the performance of your program. So so what will happen, some guys do that. uh, let's say if if I can predict it, okay, if I know that in the advance we are going to add a 50 element, or we are going to add this type of the element, this number of the elements into the ArrayList object, then in starting also we can provide the capacity, so this process will be avoided, right? Got it, guys?
Yes.
Right, if I say the 50 size, that means I can add the 50 element happily into it, right? If I add a 51 element, Guys, just focus. If I add the 51 element, then this process will take place. Right? Got it?
Yes.
Understand? Okay, so initially I am providing the capacity to my ArrayList object is 50, and if I try to add a 51 element into the ArrayList object, then what will happen? Again, a new ArrayList object will be copied based on this formula. Your current capacity is 50, 50 into 3 by 2 plus 1. Based on this formula, a new ArrayList object is created. All the 50 objects will be copied from the old ArrayList object to new ArrayList object. So till 50, there is till 50, there is no process internally will happen like this. Okay, but after 51, oh sorry, when you add a 51 element, then this process will be, you cannot avoid in that case if you add the 51th element. Okay, this process will be happen. Okay, right? So this is a constructor initially in the starting you can also assign the capacity. Now let's discuss about the third type of the constructor. So let me start the recording, stop the recording and start.